Welcome to my podcast, Espresso with Vinny, podcast 12. Hey, Vin. Another great Italian espresso. Oh, that's my favorite. He loves his espresso. Believe me, it's here. It's real espresso. You see pouring the cup? Look at that. I had to name him Vinny. He loves espresso and he loves cannolis. Yeah. So, andiamo. So I was talking to Vinny what some of the best techniques to use or not to use for dog aggression, since I specialize in a lot of this dog aggression cases, merely because I physically can handle it, mentally can handle it. A lot of other trainers, it's just, there's not their comfort zone, even if I were to teach them. It's just not a safe career, let's face it. However, so some of the funniest moments in my life in dog training were when I was approaching a client, I go through the list of kind of the checklist of what they've done, what they haven't done in dog training. So when I do get those phone calls or I meet for a consultation, some of the most hilarious moments when I first say, okay, so what would you say you're describing, number one, how you deal with your dog's aggression? So this is the first thing they'll tell me usually is, well, as the dog got aggressive, they told the dog, okay, stay in place, put it in a crate, or they avoided them and they got away from that whatever they thought the trigger was, and they thought they could live with that. So this is what we call walking on eggshells. So when you walk on eggshells, the dog obviously consents. Again, you don't want to fight over this. So they've been taught with so much information on the internet, they're questioning, well, I don't want to be aggressive back because the dog will get aggressive. Of course they will. But that doesn't mean that was the wrong thing. It just depends on how your approach was. Do you have a game plan? Most people won't, because it's not what they've specialized in. So that's why you call me. Next thing I ask them is, where does the dog sleep? Or they say, the dog will sleep on my bed, and then when I move, it growls. Sometimes I have to go on the other room and sleep somewhere else because the dog wants to do what it wants to do. And then they admit it's kind of somewhat their fault. Okay, again, the dog's taking a space, a territory. I think it should be obvious. That's a no-no. Another excuse I hear is that the dog is simply being protective. So first thing I ask them is, protective of what? They will say, well, when my spouse gets near me, the dog will growl. Or my kids come over, the dog will growl. Or I'll be in the kitchen and I'll be cooking and it's a small space when it generally happens and it's food that dropped on the floor. So I asked them, well, how many times has your dog seen your kids or your spouse? They said, well, many times, it's been years. So obviously that's not protective. You're not walking around black and blue beaten up, are you? So the dog is not being protective. The dog is being jealous and possessive, and they're using these markers, these humans and these objects of food to show dominance. So that is not protective. That's an excuse that humans love to make to just say that instinctually that's what the dog does, and they don't want to face reality. Reality is the dog is controlling you. So that sort of possessiveness. But here's the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in dog training, and I get it a few times in my lifetime, and I can't stop laughing. So I go to the house and I say, show me what you've been doing to stop the dog aggression. So they get out this big stuffed toy. Vinny, this is hilarious. You gotta listen to this. So they get this big stuffed toy and they put it out on the front driveway, and they bring the dog outside and they say, this is what the dog trainer told me to do. So the dog's supposed to come out, see another dog if it was dog-to-dog aggression, and you're trying to train them to get used to seeing a dog in their territory. Okay, but pardon my French. Don't you think these acute hearing of a dog, their ears, can't fucking not hear the other dog isn't breathing? It's stuffed. You don't think their hearing can't hear that dog not breathing? It's one of the main indicators. They'll hear a pattern of breathing to know if there's even aggressiveness, like, or just a silence, or a steady breathing that's smooth. I'm aware. Then don't you think the dog can't see the tail's not wagging, the ears don't move, the eyes don't have muscles moving on them? You don't think they can't see that? No? Okay. This is an absolute idiot trainer who would bring a stuffed toy. Happens every few years. I hear about it and I can't get over it. How stupid these people are. This is a dog trainer that's afraid of dogs, can't handle the job, shouldn't be in it, and you shouldn't be taking people's money. Yeah, right. A stuffed one. You don't think they can't smell their little butt? Does it smell like a dog? Yeah, it's full of styrofoam. Little Chinese manufactured dog sitting on your front lawn and it doesn't move. That is to me the most hilarious, most absurd type of dog training I've ever heard of in my life. So to all the dog trainers out there that do that, please quit, stop stealing people's money. I am at the dog park and I'm standing there with my client. She's got her PhD in mathematics, teacher, lovely lady, has a Corgi, and the Corgi was very edgy, highly aggressive. You couldn't pet its tummy or do things where she couldn't, her husband could. And she'd get nipped and then it could turn into even more ferocious bite. It would bite family members that came over. Real attitude. Okay, so we fixed it up really good. We've been working together for weeks because the Corgis are extra stubborn. It takes time. And so the dog's doing wonderful. We're walking around a park and we're approached from far, far away. Lady with a golden doodle. She has it on a 30-foot lead. She's walking around playing. We wave, keep walking around, come back around, same spot. The golden doodle's 80 yards now from us. A man shows up with a Siberian Husky. And if you can call him a man, I right away identified him as a little bun man. But he's got his dog off leash. It's running around, and we're just talking, my client and I, in a friendly conversation. Our dogs are quiet. They're not barking, nothing. His Husky runs over. My client tells me she knows this man from her homeowners association. He's a jerk. And he lets the dog off leash. She's been nice and tried to explain. Not all dogs are friendly. They don't like being approached. We're not trying to preach to him to keep the dog on a leash, but if you can't control the dog, get the dog on a leash. So he comes by and yells at us. We've said nothing to him at this point, okay? He doesn't remember my client. He doesn't know who I am. And we're just standing there, 80 yards away. He says to us, can you guys just keep walking? Can you not stand there? Are you trying to provoke my dog? I said, excuse me? Are you telling a grown adults in a park far away from you to keep walking, that we need to listen to you because you want your dog off leash? So then he gets verbally aggressive, violent, and he pulls out his phone and he starts coming up, filming up close to us. And I said, why is your dog off a leash? My client tells him a few bad words and says, get out of here. I remember who you are. I know who your mother is. I've had problems with you before. And so he says, I'll call the police. And then he's like, starts getting verbally aggressive with me. So I told him, I said, well, you know, you're not too smart because this is about to be Darwinism in about 3 seconds. Y'all throw 400 pounds overhead on a shoulder press. You're not going to last very long, buddy. And he, of course, the big talk mouth are the ones that never know how to fight. He puts his dog on a leash and starts filming his dog on a leash and coming to us, filming right up near us. And I'm laughing and saying, how did you get this far if your dog was off a leash? Now you're filming it on a leash? You should probably go work for the news channels the way you learned to edit film. You're projecting the exact opposite of reality so that the public can see. And then he's trying to put words in our mouth. Why are you so aggressive? Why do you talk that way? Why do you have so much hatred in you? And I'm laughing. I said, maybe you shouldn't tell grown adults what they have to do and mind your own effing business. And they won't. So the action reaction, they take no ownership for their own actions to make someone else angry. So they poke the bear. So my warning is to all the morons out there in society, the people that just like being left alone and like being quiet are the last people you really want to get angry and piss them off, because it's going to be Darwinism. You're not going to last. The way this country's going and the way the world's going, I promise you, you're not going to get very far, because it's just not going to happen in the way you think it is and the way it's going to roll out. Too much aggression has been happening out there from people that, first of all, the bigger the mouth, the weaker the punch, okay? They don't belong outside telling everybody what to do with their life. They're the most intolerant people I've ever seen, yet they preach that we should be tolerant, okay? They're morons. And my message to the good people out in the world, don't ever forget that this whole big universe that never ends has more good and love in it. And there's no such thing as more evil and stupidity, even though we feel that way in this country at this point. We have to remind ourselves that there's more good and there's more powerful love out there then you take credit, because there's no such thing in the laws of the universe, which definitely are our true selves. We come from that. That there's never going to be a dominance of more evil. It feels like that only because good people don't like to fight. They'd rather avoid problems. It's our goodness that becomes our weakness, if that makes sense. We're trying to avoid a confrontation because we're good, and we're empowering these obnoxious brat people, these progressives that get up in our face, that think that we're supposed to change and we shouldn't exist, or we belong in camps to be modified according to their new rules. So my warning to them with great sincerity is, there's going to come a day where Darwinism is going to play out, and you pathetic people that your parents did you no favor because they didn't teach you any manners, no rules, or how to think, and you being naive is trusting these morons that created this whole system for you to follow. You're not going to win. Good, I believe, will reunite, because there's a point where good wants to fight because they're tired of being told to live under tyranny. So that's the bottom line of my show today. So thank you for attending another podcast. I love all of you, all my followers. It's wonderful to have you follow me. Remember, Rumble, Spotify, I'm on them all the time, a few other media outlets. And we'll wait to another episode, and give me any input, any other topics that you would like me to even discuss and bring up in training techniques and methods. Okay? So it's the holiday season. It's gorgeous out. I love this time of year. I love it a little bit nippy and cold. And I can't wait to spend time with family and kind of slow it down a little bit, and start the new year where all of us can get focused on bringing more good energy. But remember, you never can have good and stability if you're not willing to fight for it. So unfortunately, the pendulum is swung, and you're going to have to start fighting for the good and the love to be the dominant in the universe for all of us. Okay? Till next time, arrivederci. Spesso with Danny.